What's the future for people who are storing all of their photos these days on digital media of some sort?
Well, there are two problems with digital anything. One is technology changes very quickly, and the other is that no one knows, truthfully, how long this stuff will last. You've got the manufacturers, in some cases, saying a CD will last 100 years, and you have testing labs and people who have actually used them who are saying, you know, you get what you pay for, and the stuff that's in the store free after rebate doesn't get you to 2 years. So, you know, we've had cases where people have put photos of their new babies on CDs and then gone back a year or two later, and they can't read it because it's degraded.
How does it degrade?
Well, there's a big difference between a commercial CD that you would buy either with music or with a program on it and the ones you burn yourself. A CD-ROM, and you can tell by looking at it because it's a silver gold back on it, has a very thin layer of aluminum in it. And when it's made commercially, there's a laser that burns through the aluminum, and if there's a burn mark there, you know, for instance, it's a 0. If there's not, it's a 1, or, you know, however they program it. The ones you burn yourself, they don't do that. The first drives did when you were paying $800-900 for a CD-ROM, you know, burner. At that point, yes, they did. Everything you see in any machine at this point, I mean, unless it's a commercial CD mastering machine, is going to use a CDR that has a dye in it. And you can tell, because when you look at the back of them, they're greenish or blue.
Can you show me one more?
Yeah. And this would be a commercial CD-ROM versus a CDR or CDRW. What happens is when the laser hits the colored dye, it changes the color. And that's what the drive then reads, the color change, as an on or an off. If you put these in your car and they get up to 110, 120 degrees, the dye fades if they're in direct sunlight, and time makes the dye lose it, you know, just like putting anything else out in the sun, or, you know, things fade over time. So the ones you burn yourself, just because they're doing things a different way, don't have nearly the longevity.
So is it your recommendation then that people go and buy the more expensive of these discs? What's the best way to store digital images right now, if that's what you're doing? Is there any safe way to do it?
Well, there are two things to keep in mind. One, you're not going to go out there and spend, you know, $5,000-10,000 on a CD mastering system. No, but there are definitely a quality difference between brands. So you want to stick with one of the companies you've heard of. You know, iMation is 3M or Sony, or, you know, there's a variety of brand names out there. Technology is like anything else. You truly do get what you pay for. So if you buy good media, that's one thing. You need to store it properly. It needs to be between 70 and 100 degrees. You know, basically room temperature is fine with it. If you put it in, actually heat's worse than cold, but, you know, you don't want to get them so they're froze, and you certainly don't want them in car trunks. You don't want them in, you know, in the ledge of the back of your car. You won't have any data very quickly if you do that. I mean, the CD will be destroyed, or DVD.
So what are we
way.
talking about? Well, what's the difference price-wise if you go in to buy one of those stacks of burnable CDRs between good media and the cheap stuff? Are you talking about $25 for one and $15 for the other one?
Probably. I mean, depending on the quantity you buy them. But some of these cheap ones, you know, they run a special. They're free after rebate, and they're worth every penny of being free. You know, if the data is worth saving, it's better to spend the money and get a good media product to put it on. The other thing you have to do is realize that there are two things working against the digital world. and that is that technology changes. You know, if somebody stored something on one of these 5 1/4s 20 years ago, it's still going to be on there in most cases. This is magnetic. Again, if it were in heat or something, you'd ruin it. But the problem is, have you seen a 5 1/4-inch drive in the last 10 years that you could read it on?
Yeah.
So you may have the data intact, but you have no way to access it anymore, or it gets very expensive to access it. You know, same with the 3 1/2. So you need to keep, you know, every couple years as new technologies out there. You know, DVDs are now becoming the standard storage device where they were CDs, you know, even 2 years ago. So what you need to do is you need to take your CDs, you need to put them in the machine, and then you need to copy them to DVD. And every 2 or 3 years you need to make a new copy of everything you have if you want to be safe about it.
What makes the DVD superior to a CDR right now?
It's the same technology, but technology gets better, you know, literally every day. So a DVD can hold 700 meg, or I'm sorry, 4.6 gig on a DVD, whereas a CD will hold 700 meg. So you get 700 million bytes versus 4.6 billion bytes. So it's same technology, but you can get, obviously, you know, a handful of CDs on one DVD.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Let's talk about people who buy the ink printers, the jet printer, or whatever it is, photo printer, I guess I'm trying to say, and they take that home, and that's what they're using to print out all of their photos now.
Right. What
risk are they at that they may not be thinking about?
Well, essentially you have the same problem when it comes to inks or dyes and paper. In the old days of going to the photo finishing place and getting a photo made, you know, we all have photos of grandparents, great-grandparents, whatever, that may be 100+ years old. Now they're faded, but you still see them. The problem with the digital imaging is that in the vast majority of cases, none of these inks or dyes are really warranted past 7 years. Epson is the one exception, to my knowledge, and they have what they call an archival quality ink. It's not the regular ink you go out there and buy. You're going to pay about twice as much for it, but they will guarantee that for something around 30 years. I forget the exact number. But even so, these, you know, you won't have a 100-year-old picture that's done on one of these home photo printers. I mean, not with today's technology.
Epson offers, what's the ink called? Archival, did you say?
Well, that's a type. They call it an archival ink. I can look it up.
No, that's okay. I mean, I think a lot of people have gone to that because they think it's cheaper to just print it out themselves, but they're not getting...
They're not getting the permanency that they think that they're getting.
Would you be, if you want your pictures to last longer, are you better off to have them done at a store, or, I mean, a lot of times, like I'm thinking of Walgreens, they're printing them digitally too. How do you know when you go get your picture that it's going to be high enough quality? Any idea?
Well, I think part of that's it's a mixture of the paper and it's the printing. Mm-hmm. You know, and the true photographs. There's a chemical in the paper, and there's chemicals, you know, to make up the image. I don't know about the ones at the 1 hour photo places, to be truthful. That's what I tend to do. I don't print out any photos on my own unless they're going to be temporary.
Right.
You know, I have them, and then I always keep, you know, I take those images off the camera card, and then I will burn them into a CD. I'll actually burn them into a CD and a DVD, and I'll put one place, one another place. And, you know, being a computer guy, every 6 months I decide it's housekeeping time. I will make another copy, and I'll throw away the oldest copy. So I've got 4 and 5 generations of what I have. But, you know, everybody gets burned once, and if you've been in computers, for me it was about 25 years ago, you know, I put something on a disk and oops, it was gone. Until you've been burned the one time and you've lost hours, days, months, years of work, you don't take this seriously, or don't tend to take it seriously. And everybody should, because some of these memories that people want to keep, they're not going to have them.
Right. That's a good